The R&D lab of EtherTech Industries was a glass-enclosed sanctuary of white marble and glowing blue servers. Kellen, a brilliant strategist posing as a junior intern to observe the company's toxic culture firsthand, was standing near a prototype server. He wore a simple black hoodie, holding a deep navy leather portfolio containing the company's equity audit. Garrett, the CEO known for his ego and volatile temper, swept into the room. He was dressed in a bold red designer suit that looked like a bloodstain against a sterile white lab. Beside him was Bianca, the operations manager, her face a mask of cold arrogance as she adjusted her bold red-trimmed dress. Garrett's face contorted into a realistic, unmasked expression of aggressive rage the moment he saw Kellen idling by the server. He viewed the presence of an intern in the high-clearance lab as a personal affront to his status. His nostrils flared, and a pulsing vein began to throb in his neck as he snatched a prototype tablet from the bench. Why is this low-level diversity hire breathing the same filtered air as my engineers? Garrett roared. I'm just reviewing the infrastructure efficiency, Mr. Garrett. There are significant leaks in your overhead, Kellen replied, his voice a calm, lethal black frequency. He stepped back defensively as Garrett invaded his space, but the CEO's fury was unmasked. Garrett's aggression turned physical. He lunged forward and delivered a heavy-handed, aggressive shove to Kellen's chest, slamming him back against the cold glass of the server rack with a violent thud. You don't review my infrastructure. You fetch coffee and stay out of my sight. Garrett snarled, his face showing anatomical micro-expressions of fury, his brow furrowed into deep ridges and his eyes widening in anger, in a display of unchecked disrespect. Garrett grabbed the deep navy portfolio from Kellen's hand and violently slammed it onto the floor, the documents sliding across the white marble. Garrett then grabbed Kellen by the collar of his black hoodie and pinned him against the server rack, while Bianca laughed, recording the correction on her device. The witnesses, Sterling and Maya, stood by the glass partition, their phones raised to capture the raw, unmasked fury on Garrett's face as he physically manhandled the man. I'm firing you and blacklisting you from every firm in Silicon Valley, Garrett hissed, his nostrils flaring. Kellen looked at the hand on his collar, then at the yellow-cased master smartphone on the lab bench. Garrett, he whispered, you should have checked the SEC filing this morning. I didn't apply for an internship. I just bought your majority stake. The sterile, pressurized air of the EtherTech R&D lab seemed to crack under the weight of Garrett's physical assault. He maintained his physical pin, his fingers digging painfully into the black fabric of Kellen's hoodie, shoving him so hard against the glass server rack that the internal cooling fans let out a high-pitched whine. Garrett's unmasked face was a portrait of pure, unadulterated aggressive rage. The veins in his neck pulsed with a violent, rhythmic intensity, and his nostrils flared as he exhaled hot, jagged breaths of fury. Bianca stood by the main console, her bold red-trimmed dress gleaming under the blue server lights. Her face twisted in a smug sneer as she prepared to delete Kellen's intern credentials from the system permanently. You're not just a nobody, you're a stain on my floor. Garrett hissed, his face contorting with anatomical micro-expressions of fury, his brow furrowed into deep ridges and his eyes widening in anger until the whites were visible in a terrifying, predatory glare. I built this empire with blood and silicon, and I am the only one who decides who stays and who goes. You're gone. Now, do I have to drag you out by your neck? Or are you going to crawl? He exerted more pressure, slamming Kellen's head back against the glass with another aggressive shove. Kellen didn't flinch. With a slow, precise motion, he reached up and unzipped the black hoodie, revealing the deep navy silk waistcoat underneath, the signature of the Thorn Capital Group's executive board. He reached for the yellow-cased master smartphone on the lab bench and tapped a single command. He didn't call for a lawyer. He triggered the equity liquidation protocol. Garrett, Kellen said, his voice dropping into a low, vibrating black frequency that seemed to resonate through the server racks. You spent so much time looking down on the people at the bottom that you didn't see the man who just bought the top. Suddenly, every transparent OLED screen in the lab and every workstation in the global headquarters flickered to a solid royal blue. A second later, they roared to life with a bold, extreme close-up video of the current interaction. The entire board of directors and the company's 15,000 employees watched in stunned horror as the screens displayed Garrett's snarling face and anatomical micro-expressions of fury as he physically assaulted a man who had quietly acquired 51% of the company's voting stock over the last 48 hours. Garrett's grip on the black collar went limp. His face turned a sickly, translucent shade of gray as he looked at the screens and saw his own professional obituary being written in real time. The mottled red patches on his skin faded into a hollow, trembling mass of terror as the realization hit. He had just assaulted his new employer and majority shareholder. The biometric lab doors hissed open, and a team of executive auditors and private security, in deep Navy tactical gear with yellow, owner detail, lettering swarmed the room. Sterling in his gold silk blazer and Maya in her silver designer dress stepped forward from the observation gallery, their phones broadcasting the total liquidation of Garrett's legacy to the entire tech industry. "Garrett and Bianca," the chief legal officer announced, his voice cold and final. "By order of the majority shareholder, your contracts are terminated for cause, effective immediately. Your stock options are being clawed back under the moral turpitude clause, and your access to the Ether tech grid is purged." Kellen stood up, shedding the black hoodie and revealing the full authority of his deep navy waistcoat. He stepped into Garrett's personal space, his gold luxury watch catching the blue light of the servers. "You told me you decide who stays and who goes, Garrett. The truth is, I just decided you're a trespasser in my lab. Your justice debt begins with an immediate removal from the premises." Garrett, in a state of aggressive panic, tried to stammer out a plea, reaching out to grab Kellen's arm. He was instantly intercepted. Two security officers firmly grabbed Garrett by his arms, twisting him behind his back in a brutal, bone-deep lock. They forced him to his knees on the white marble floor, right on top of the documents he had scattered. Bianca was grabbed by her bold red-trimmed dress and forced down beside him. "Liquidate their credentials," Kellen commanded. The security team ripped the executive ID badges from their chests and snatched the silver headset from Bianca's ear, tossing them into a green biohazard bin. They physically dragged Garrett and Bianca to the center of the R&D floor, their shoes squeaking on the marble as the engineers and lab techs gathered to jeer and film the disgrace. They were dragged out the main lobby and left on the sidewalk in front of a waiting swarm of paparazzi. Kellen looked at the chief legal officer. "Reboot the servers. I want a new culture in this building by morning. One where the smartest person in the room is the one who treats others with respect, not the one in the loudest suit." He checked his gold watch. "And make sure Garrett's office is cleared out by noon. I think I'll turn it into a break room for the interns." The power was destroyed. The truth was revealed, and the villain was liquidated.